Ahoy there, Cruise fam! Welcome to the very first episode of Cruise News Takeover. I'm your captain today, Madison, and trust me, we're about to take you on a cruise journey you'll never forget. And riding shotgun with me is the man, the myth, the legend, Cowboy Sam. How's it going, partner?
Well, butter my biscuit and call me a pancake, Madison. We're finally here. It's smoother than a sunset sailing in the Caribbean, and I gotta say, I'm more excited than a catfish at a crawdad boil. Ready to ride the waves with you?
Yeah, and just to clarify, folks, this isn't your average cruise podcast. We're bringing you all the juicy cruise news, the wild stories, and a few roasts along the way. Plus, maybe we'll get around to explaining why Sam's so obsessed with duct tape.
Darling, it's because duct tape can fix anything. Kind of like how we're about to fix your boredom with some good old cruise gossip.
And speaking of which, today we've got some big headlines. I'm talking about Carnival guests getting banned for sneaking in some not-so-allowed items, a brand new Royal Caribbean ship making its grand debut in Finland, and the strike in Florida that's causing grocery store chaos, but not cruise chaos, thank goodness.
Oh, thank the good Lord. No grocery store drama on my cruise. But Madison, let's hope those banned passengers weren't trying to sneak on any Texas BBQ sauce, because that would be a travesty.
I think it was a little more fireworks related, Sam, but we'll get into that. Stay tuned because we've got all that and more coming your way. Before we dive into today's cruise headlines, we've got to give a quick shout out to our amazing sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by ducksoaps.com. If you love collecting those little cruise rubber ducks like I do, this is your go-to shop. Sam, you've got a collection going too, right?
That's right. Last cruise, I had a duck for every day of the week. Named them after my favorite cocktails. Ducksoaps.com, where fun meets the bathtub.
And we're also sponsored by ccp.cruisingswag.com, your ultimate destination for all things cruise fashion. Whether it's t-shirts from Sam's favorite podcast, because let's be real, he needs options, you can cruise in style, or you can buy their custom-made door hangers to really swag up your cruise.
Hey now, a good cowboy needs options. My favorite shirt on there is the OG CCP logo shirt.
All right, let's get into the good stuff. First up, what's got Carnival cruisers getting banned? Stick around. Let's get into the first juicy news story of the day, and it's a wild one. 2 Carnival cruise guests are now banned for life after they smuggled a handgun on board. Yes, you heard that right. A handgun.
Well, butter my biscuits. A gun on a cruise? I've seen folks sneak snacks, but this is a whole new level of a bad idea. What were they thinking? This ain't the Wild West.
Here's the kicker. They didn't just sneak it on board. They posted a video of it online. Like they were trying to go viral or something.
Oh, Lord. Now that's about as smart as trying to fry bacon with the pan upside down. You know, Carnival ain't playing when it comes to security. How'd they even manage that?
Great question. They filmed the video in their stateroom, showing the gun tucked away in the safe. And of course, they made sure to throw in some other bragging points too, like how security confiscated their pickles, hot sausages, and popcorn, but somehow missed the firearm. Sounds like a scene out of a comedy sketch.
Pickles and popcorn. And they still managed to sneak in a gun? Oh, someone's got their priorities all mixed up. Can you imagine security taking your snacks but leaving the gun? That's like arresting someone for jaywalking while they're holding a bank bag.
Exactly. Now, let me be clear. Carnival's got a pretty tight policy on this stuff. Firearms, even replicas, are a big no-no. It's literally the second thing on their list of prohibited items right after illegal narcotics. So naturally, when the video surfaced on Facebook, Carnival wasn't thrilled. They banned the guests for life, effective immediately.
Well, can't say I blame them, but what gets me is they had the nerve to show off in the video, saying, "We all good," like smuggling a gun on a cruise is just a Tuesday afternoon. Now, Madison, correct me if I'm wrong, but Ain't these the same folks that had a birthday cruise planned?
Yep. The video seems to be from their birthday trip aboard the Carnival Liberty, but they didn't share the exact date. I guess when you get banned for life, you kind of leave those details out. What blows my mind is they've got the Fun Times newsletter and all the carnival decor in the background, so there's no denying which cruise line they were on.
I tell you what, folks. If your birthday present to yourself involves getting banned from Carnival for life, you're doing it wrong. Next time, just stick to the cake and confetti.
Yeah, and maybe leave the smuggling to movie villains. But you know, Sam, this isn't the first time carnivals had to throw down the ban hammer. Remember the couple who fished off their balcony while docked in Nassau?
Oh yeah, that one's a classic. Thought they were going to catch dinner. Ended up catching a lifetime ban instead.
Exactly. So, moral of the story, folks, don't smuggle anything on board, especially not weapons, and definitely don't post about it on social media. You're not going to get viral fame, just a big old ban.
Yeah, and Carnival's not shy about saying, adios, partner. You'll be watching your future cruises from the dock.
All right, that's enough about this craziness. Let's roll into our next story. Something a little less Wild West and a little more fresh ship off the block.
All right, folks. Gather round 'cause we got ourselves a new ship on the horizon. And this one's floating out of Finland. Royal Caribbean just celebrated the Star of the Seas float out from the Meyer Turku shipyard. Now, I've seen my fair share of big ships, but this one's gonna be a real sea monster. Madison. I'm talking 365 meters long, big enough to fit 5,610 passengers. That's more folks than a Texas county fair on a Saturday night.
Leave it to Sam to compare a cruise ship to a rodeo. But seriously, this is Royal Caribbean's second Icon-class ship, and it sounds like they're not messing around. The Star of the Seas is set to sail out of Port Canaveral in 2025, and it's going to be fueled by liquefied natural gas. So not only is it massive, but it's also eco-friendly. Well, at least as much as a floating city can be.
Yep, they celebrated the float out in Finland with a good old ceremonial cannon fire. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a sucker for a cannon blast. It's like saying, all right, folks, this ship's officially ready to make some waves.
Yeah, nothing says welcome to the ocean quite like a cannon going off. But it's crazy, Sam. They had to flood the dry dock with water for 9 hours just to get this thing to float. And after that, it took another 12 hours to empty it out. I mean, imagine waiting that long just to get your ship ready for its final outfitting.
9 hours of flooding and 12 hours of emptying. Well, that's longer than it took me to fix my old Chevy's transmission. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to get a beast like that in the water. And let me tell you, when this thing sails, it's gonna be one of the biggest ships out there. Slightly bigger than the Icon of the Seas, which is already holding the title of world's largest cruise ship.
Right? The Star of the Seas will come in at 250,800 gross tons, just a little more than Icon of the Seas at 248,663 gross tons. I'm starting to think Royal Caribbean's goal is to build a ship that's visible from space. But Sam, do you think people even need ships this big?
Well, Madison, that depends. If you're packing in 5,610 passengers, you better have a good spot at the buffet, 'cause those lines are going to be longer than a summer day in Texas. But with ships that size, there's something for everyone. Whether it's water slides, rock climbing, or just sitting back with a margarita and watching the ocean roll by.
True. And with 7 more ships on the way and 2 additional options, Royal Caribbean clearly thinks bigger is better. By the way, Sam, if you had to name the next Icon-class ship, what would you call it?
Oh, that's easy. Lasso of the Seas, 'cause it's gonna rope you in with all its bells and whistles.
Perfect. Well, I think Star of the Seas will do just fine, but we'll let Royal Caribbean know your idea for the next one. In the meantime, cruisers, if you're looking to sail on a ship the size of a small town, mark your calendars for 2025 when this beauty hits the water.
Well, folks, here's one that'll make you breathe a little easier next time you're cruising out of Florida. We just had ourselves a historic port strike that's finally been called off. Thank the good Lord. The longshoremen and their bosses reached a deal after throwing down over wages. Turns out those dock workers are going to get a pay bump, up to 62% over the next 6 years. Not too shabby, huh?
Yeah, Sam, that's some serious coin. Their hourly wage is going up from $39 to $63. You know, if I wasn't already busy hosting this podcast, I'd be out there moving containers for that kind of paycheck.
You'd be the fastest moving longshore woman on the dock, Madison. But you know, while this strike had grocery stores sweating bullets about shortages, it didn't really mess with our cruises. Ports stayed open for us cruisers, so no need to panic about your next tropical escape.
Exactly, Sam. So while we had tens of thousands of dock workers walking off the job, Carnival and Royal Caribbean kept cruising right along, probably with a few less bananas on board, but hey, nothing major.
Yeah, well, the important thing is the ports are reopening just in time for all those goods to get moving again, especially with Hurricane Helene recovery efforts going on. You know, I gotta tip my hat to those dock workers. They were fighting inflation, and now they've got themselves a big old raise, thanks to Uncle Joe pressuring their bosses to cough up a better deal.
Oh yeah, President Biden stepped in, asking for a fair offer from the shipping companies, and they ended up settling on 62% after some back and forth. The union was originally pushing for 77%, so they didn't quite hit that mark, but I'd say this is still a win. The only thing they didn't settle? Automation. That's going to be the next big debate come January.
Automation, huh? Well, I reckon machines are great for helping with the heavy lifting, but there's something to be said for real people doing the work. Ain't no robot gonna wrangle those containers like a seasoned longshoreman.
Couldn't agree more, Sam, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows yet. If they can't figure out this automation thing by January, we might see more strikes in the future. But for now, it looks like our cruises are safe and sound, at least when it comes to ports along the East and Gulf coasts.
Well, that's good news for all y'all booking those Florida cruises this winter. You might have to wait a little longer for your groceries, but your cruise ships, smooth sailing.
Yep, no cruise delays here. So, to all our listeners, keep packing those bags. Your Lido Deck cocktails are still on schedule. And remember to tip your bartenders, because they aren't getting that 62% raise.
Ain't that the truth, Madison?
All right, cruisers, before we wrap up today's show, it's time for our favorite game. You're the captain. Here's the scenario. You're the captain of a cruise ship, and suddenly a bunch of rogue seagulls are swarming your buffet. They're dive-bombing the shrimp, stealing bread rolls, and causing chaos. What's your move?
Well, if I'm captain, I'm rounding up those birds like a cattle drive and serving them up as the dinner special. Seagull stew, anyone?
Oh, Sam, leave it to you to turn it into a Western showdown. Personally, I'd just close the buffet and direct everyone to the pizza station. No seagull's gonna outsmart that 24-hour pizza bar.
Smart thinking, Madison. But what about y'all? We want to hear from you. If you're the captain, what's your plan to deal with these rogue seagulls? You've got a couple ways to let us know. If you're listening on Spotify, drop your answer in the reply section to this episode. Or head over to our SpeakPipe page and leave us a voice message. We might just play it on the next episode.
Yeah, get creative. Are you Team Sam with Seagull Stew or Team Madison with a pizza detour? Or maybe you've got an even wilder idea. Either way, we can't wait to hear what you do as captain of the ship. That's it for today's show, folks. Thanks for cruising with us on Cruise News Takeover.
Yep. And don't forget to join the Carnival Cruising Podcastaways Facebook group, where the real cruise crazies hang out. We'll see you there.
Until next time, happy sailing and may your buffet stay seagull free.